Everybody, my name is John Fischer. Welcome to InvestorLead.com. At InvestorLead.com, we sell, excuse me, all types of leads, specifically numismatic coin buyers and accredited investors. Throat's dry. So let me tell you the method to my madness. There's so many leads I could sell, and I won't. You know what? Because I don't want to have a problem, and when I go to sleep, I like to sleep. I like when my head hits the pillow, I want to be able to sleep at night. We as list brokers have a responsibility, I believe, if you've got any kind of... You see that AA in the back? I've been cleaning it's over 40 years. I'm not an angel, but you know what? I've made a transformation like you've never seen. And I have integrity today. I don't lie, too old to remember anyway. But you know, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it. And there's no one in this fucking world that does it as well as I do. And that's my pet peeve. You know, I fire customers that say they're going to do something and don't do it. Not because I'm some kind of a big shot or some kind of a gangster. If you tell me you're going to do something, do it, because I will do whatever I tell you I'm going to do. So when you're talking about integrity in this marketplace, it's really, really important. And to make sure that we're not hurting anybody. It's nice if I make money, but I don't want to do it by ripping or hurting anybody else. So the numismatic coin buyer and the bullion buyer, he's getting a coin. So the worst possible, tangible. The worst possible scenario, I must be making money today, my nose is itchy. And no, I'm not doing any drugs for 40 years plus, 40 and a half years actually. So the numismatic coin buyer gets a coin. And no matter how much you marked it up, and you know what, that's the gray area. But you know what, when I go and buy a Rolex from Mayor's Jewelry and a Yacht Master, and I pay $22,000, and as soon as I step out of that store, it's worth $12,000. That's a full markup of 100%. I'm not saying it's cool to mark something up that high, but you know what? If you're not a piggy about your markups, you know, I'm okay with that. You know, the government hasn't figured out how high is too high, but the worst scenario is when you're done and you're not selling phony coins, which hardly anyone does that. And he puts that ounce of gold on the scale. Today it's going to be 3,018 or whatever it is. So he's going to get paid a little bit less than spot. There's the bid and the ask, of course. You know, so I like that. I like about the worst possible scenario, me selling this guy's lead and he gets sold. He may pay a little bit of a markup, but hey, you know what? I bought Eagles when it was $33 an ounce, and because I wanted silver Eagles, I paid a $3 premium on top of that. So like my break even on my silver Eagles, I got a couple of thousand in that batch. And it's $36, so I mean it's part of the game. And I've got the platinum and I've got gold, and I always go for the Eagles. I want something that's going to move and something that's popular. As far as the other thing I sell, it's accredited investors, and why? The accredited investor, 200,000 income, million net worth, not including his home, combined income 300,000, experience in managing his personal portfolio. He's liquid for at least $50,000. Are you comfortable with a $50,000 first-time investment with us? Is that something within your comfort level? Is it liquid? Is it risk capital? And then they send him a private placement memorandum. It's a far cry from the crap you would buy from, I'm slinging mud, InvestorLeads.com, which is Info USA, zip +4 average, modeled information. If you don't believe me, just say, hey, how do you know these people are accredited? They're guessing. Ask me that question. These people are recipients of a private placement memorandum. They are private placement memorandum recipients. That broker that's sending this guy a private placement memorandum makes 10% commission. And let me tell you something. There's somebody watching how many packages he's sending out, package being a memorandum, because they have serial numbers on them. And they got to make sure the guy's accredited, if he's doing a Reg D 506C. And there's a manager watching. How many does he put out and how many are closing? So there's a good governor in there that watches out for what we call wallpaper. You know, like the guys that put out wallpaper don't last very long. And I've made a living. You may say to yourself, John, why would you sell a guy that said no? Elementary, my dear Watson. Back in the old days, 20% of the brokers wrote 80% of the business. Once again, 20% of the brokers write 80% of the business. I'm changing the rule, and I have the right to do so. You know, you've heard of AI. I've done a lot of work with AI, and I got to tell you something. They ain't nothing like Johnny intelligence, because they are not more intelligent than I when it comes to this particular business. And they're way off on a lot of their stuff. It's crazy. Recovery also. You go into into a recovery with AI, they're clueless about AA, they're clueless about NA, they're clueless about a lot of stuff. One thing they're not clueless about, which has something to do with this video, I asked the AI to compare a narcissist to an alcoholic, and it's amazing how the top 10 comparisons were on the money. It was unbelievable, but that's another story. Something I recently discovered what the hell a narcissist is. But anyway, get off that subject. This is the place you want to be. You want to have a guy like me who is a closer. You want to have a guy like me who's not wasting your time, out there looking for good leads. And a guy that's got integrity, where there's a problem, he's going to back you up and he's going to take care of you. And you got, depending on how strong your rapport is with me, and and how you are in integrity, and how often you do business with me, I could be the best thing that ever happened for your business. And I have been. I've been doing that for a lot of people. So if you have any questions at all from investorlead.com, please call me at 561-239-0364. In the meantime, have yourself a beautiful day, and God bless.